Let's talk about what you did last week. You introduced a bill about forming a climate security intelligence center. Why do you see a need for that, and what are you hoping to accomplish that would accomplish?
Well, National Intelligence Director Dan Coats issued a report, and in fact reports of this kind have been issued periodically by one part of the national security apparatus or another, concluding that climate change represents an existential threat to our national security. The fact of the matter is there's no centralized location for gathering that information and making sure that it's being shared broadly across the intelligence community. That's the reason why the National Intelligence Office was set up. And within it, we already have a counterterrorism center. We already have a counterproliferation center. This is a logical extension of it, because the fact of the matter is, if you straight line out what's happening now, climate change, severe weather events, rising sea levels, crop shortages, water shortages, droughts, increased conflict between nations. This is what constitutes or the tinder that could result in a kinetic war, a fire, as it were. So we need to run toward this problem, not away from this problem. And one of the ways that we can do that is to better coordinate the sharing and gathering of information within the intelligence community, as we have done for counterterrorism, as we have done for counterproliferation.
Congressman Heck, thank you for your time.
You're welcome, sir.